Rotterdam Port, 3 a.m., 2019. 7 tons of cocaine hidden inside a fruit shipment from Ecuador. The Albanian handler opens a container. Empty, completely empty. $200 million worth of product. Gone. And in that moment, Almir Rrapo knew someone inside his own network had betrayed him. What he did next would become the bloodiest reckoning in European organized crime history. They called him the calculator. Real name, Almir Rrapo. For 40 years, he moved between 12 European capitals like a ghost. London, Amsterdam, Brussels, Rome, Tirana, Berlin, Vienna, Madrid, Paris, Athens, Frankfurt, Zurich, and in all that time, not a single conviction, not even an arrest. Police knew his name, knew what he did, but they could never touch him. Because Almir Rrapo didn't just run a criminal empire. He ran it like a multinational corporation, and he was a CEO nobody could ever prove existed. But before we get to how he vanished with a $2 billion network, you need to understand where this all started. Because the man who became the calculator, he learned his first lesson at 17 years old. And that lesson was written in blood. Albania, 1985. Communist dictatorship. The country sealed off from the world. Young Rrapo's father was a mid-level government official. Not powerful, not wealthy, just a man trying to survive. But in Albania under Enver Hoxha's regime, survival meant walking a tightrope. One wrong move, one wrong word, and you disappeared. Rrapo's father made that mistake. A land dispute with a rival clan. Nothing major. But the rivals had connections. Police connections. Party connections. And 3 days after filing complaint, Rrapo's father was found dead in an irrigation ditch. Officially, an accident. Everyone knew the truth. Nobody said a word. 17-year-old Almir stood at his father's funeral, watched his mother collapse, watched the killers attend the ceremony, smiling, untouchable, and in that moment, he learned the only lesson that mattered. Loyalty means nothing without power. Justice means nothing without force. And if you want to survive in a world run by criminals and corrupt officials, you don't fight the system. You become the system. 3 days later, Rrapo made his move. But it wasn't revenge. It was business. He approached Italian smugglers operating near the Albanian coast, offered them something valuable. Names, routes, information about the rival clan's smuggling operations. In exchange, $5,000. The Italians took the deal. The rival clan got raided by Yugoslav police. Lost everything. And Rrapo, he had his seed capital. If this already sounds insane, hit subscribe, because it gets way darker. The communist regime falls. Albania's borders open for the first time in 50 years. And chaos erupts. No government. No police. No rules. Just armed gangs fighting for control. Most young men grabbed guns and started shooting. Almir Rrapo grabbed a pen and started calculating. He'd spent 6 years studying the Italians, learning how they moved people, how they laundered money, how they corrupted officials. And now, with the borders open, he saw an opportunity nobody else did. He partnered with the 'Ndrangheta in Calabria, created the first organized Albania to Italy human trafficking route, packed boats, promised desperate Albanians jobs in Italy, charged them $2,000 each, made hundreds of trips, millions in profit. But here's the thing nobody understood. He wasn't doing it for the money, not primarily. He was moving people to establish sleeper cells. By 1993, Rrapo had operatives in 6 Italian cities, all of them legitimate on paper. Restaurant owners, real estate agents, import-export businesses, every single one laundering his money, building his infrastructure. And here's the beautiful part. Italian authorities saw Albanian immigrants, poor, desperate, harmless. They didn't see the network, because Rrapo had learned something the old-school mafia never understood. Visibility is a weakness. The moment people know your face, know your name, know your operation, you're already caught. So he stayed invisible, operated through proxies, never touched the money directly. never made a threat personally, and never, ever broke his own rules. Belgian authorities arrest his top lieutenant, a man named Beckham. 20 years of evidence. Wiretaps, ledgers, testimony. If Beckham talks, Rrapo faces life in prison. The Belgian prosecutor gives Beckham 48 hours to consider a deal, talk and walk in 5 years, stay silent and rot for 20. Beckham sitting in his cell, considering his options, and then his phone buzzes. One message, one photo. His mother, sitting in a cafe in Brussels, drinking coffee, calm, unaware she's being watched. The message was clear. Say nothing or she dies. Beckham never said a word. Took 15 years. Never testified. Never gave a name. Loyal to the end. But here's what nobody knew. Beckham's wife? She was working for Europol, recording conversations, photographing documents, for 3 years. And in 1998, she handed over enough evidence to bring down half of Rrapo's network. Except when Europol moved to make arrests. The files disappeared. Corrupted hard drives. Lost paperwork. Witnesses recanting. Someone inside Europol buried the case. And that someone was on Rrapo's payroll. Late 1990s. Rrapo shifts from humans to cocaine. Partners with Colombian cartels through contacts in Ecuador. But here's his innovation. He doesn't touch the drugs. Doesn't own the shipments. Doesn't distribute. He only provides logistics. Encrypted phones. Bribe port officials in Rotterdam, Antwerp, Hamburg. Fake export companies with legitimate business licenses. Shell corporations in Cyprus and Switzerland. The cartels move the cocaine. Rrapo moves the information. And for that, he takes 15% of every shipment. By 2003, he's facilitating 50 tons annually. Conservative estimate? $80 million profit per year. Tax-free, untraceable, and completely invisible to law enforcement. Because on paper, he doesn't exist. No bank accounts in his name. No properties. No contracts. Everything's held by proxies. Layers upon layers of corporate structures. And every layer, legal, defensible, impossible to penetrate. Spanish authorities finally catch a break. Wiretap catches one of his associates mentioning a villa in Madrid. The address, the security codes, everything. They plan a raid. Coordinate with Interpol. 3 months of surveillance. And at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, they hit the location. 50 agents. Helicopters. The whole show. They break down the door and find nothing. Furniture covered in plastic. No fingerprints. No DNA. No computers. No phones. No documents. The villa was a decoy. Rented through a shell company. Paid in cash. Used maybe twice. The real headquarters? A rented apartment in Athens he used twice a year. For meetings that lasted less than 2 hours. Europol realizes they've been chasing shadows. They issue a red notice. Interpol circulates his photo to every border crossing in Europe. And then Almir Rrapo vanishes. Completely. For 18 months. Nobody sees him. Nobody hears from him. His network keeps running. Money keeps moving. But the man himself? Gone. When he resurfaces in 2008, nobody expects where he shows up. Vienna, Austria. Running a legitimate security consulting firm. Not a front, an actual business. Advising banks and corporations on money laundering detection. Teaching compliance officers how to spot red flags. How to identify shell companies. How to trace illicit funds. The irony? Spectacular. Because while he's lecturing bankers about detecting dirty money during the day, at night he's moving $400 million through those same banks. Austrian authorities investigate him for 3 years. Audit his company. Interview his clients. Check his taxes. Find nothing illegal. Why? Because his work was real. He genuinely helped banks improve their systems. And in exchange, corrupt executives in those banks looked the other way while he moved money through their systems. It was brilliant. Hide in plain sight. Be so legitimate that nobody suspects. And make yourself useful enough that even when they know they don't want to stop you, Wait, governments were protecting him? Yeah, drop a comment. Should intelligence agencies be allowed to shield criminals? Because what comes next makes this look tame. But here's the truth nobody saw coming. The truth that explains how Rrapo operated for 40 years without facing a single trial. Almir Rrapo wasn't just a drug trafficker. He was an intelligence asset. From 2004 to 2012, he was feeding information to multiple European intelligence agencies. MI6 in Britain, BND in Germany, AISI in Italy. Information about rival Albanian clans, Chechen networks, North African trafficking routes, and most valuable of all, ISIS operatives using Balkan smuggling routes to enter Europe. The intelligence was real, actionable, led to arrests, prevented attacks, and in exchange for that intelligence, immunity, protection, and the freedom to operate his criminal empire without interference. The governments knew. They let him run cocaine, synthetic drugs, money laundering, because the war on terror needed him more than the drug war wanted him gone. It wasn't official. No paperwork, no contracts, just an understanding. He provides intelligence. They don't arrest him. And for 8 years, that arrangement held. Everything changes. Rrapo's daughter, studying medicine in London, leaves a lecture hall at University College London, crosses the street, and a motorcycle pulls up beside her. 2 shots. She drops. The shooter speeds away. She survives. Barely. Bullet missed her heart by 2 centimeters. The hit was meant for Rrapo, a message from a rival Albanian clan. But they missed, and they hit his daughter instead. For the first time in 30 years of operating, Almir Rrapo made an emotional decision. He broke his own rule. Never retaliate publicly. Never draw attention. Never make it personal. Within 72 hours, 4 members of the rival clan were found dead. 1 in Amsterdam, 1 in Rome, 1 in Frankfurt, 1 in Tirana, all shot with the same 9mm rounds. Same gun, same killer. Police knew it was Rrapo. Couldn't prove it, but the message was crystal clear. You touch my family, I erase yours. And I don't care who knows. After his daughter's shooting, Rrapo makes an announcement through intermediaries. He's retiring, selling his logistics networks to younger operators, moving to Switzerland, buying a lakeside villa in Lugano, legitimate money, legal residence. Europol celebrates. Case closed. The calculator retires undefeated. But 2 years later, something strange happens. Cocaine seizures across Europe double. 2018 seizures hit record levels. Over 150 tons intercepted. And investigators start seeing a pattern. Different traffickers, different routes, but the same systems, same encrypted phones, same corporate structures, same methods. They realize the truth. He didn't retire. He franchised. Rrapo created a decentralized model. 10 independent cells operating across 12 capitals. No direct contact with him. No meetings. No phone calls. All communication through encrypted dead drops. Each cell operates autonomously, uses his systems, his contacts, his methods, and in exchange, they pay him 5% of their gross revenue. Passive income. And with 10 cells moving an estimated $4 billion in product annually, Rrapo's making $200 million a year from a villa in Switzerland without touching a single kilogram of cocaine. It was a perfect evolution. The old mafia model required a visible boss, required hierarchy, control, direct orders. Rrapo's model required none of that. He built a system, licensed it, and let others take the risks. Which brings us back to Rotterdam. 2019, that stolen shipment. 7 tons, $200 million. And the betrayal that almost brought down his entire network. The theft was an inside job. His own nephew, Aryan, 28 years old, ambitious, reckless. Aryan believed his uncle was weak, too old, too comfortable in Switzerland. Thought he could take over the network by proving he was stronger. So Aryan and 3 associates intercepted the shipment, sold it to a Dutch-Moroccan gang for $60 million cash, kept the money, and waited for Rrapo to respond. He didn't wait long. Rrapo's response was surgical, calculated. First, he leaked Arian's location to Interpol, anonymously, with evidence tying him to the theft. Arian gets arrested in Amsterdam, faces 25 years. Then, while Arian's in custody, Rrapo's people empty every one of Arian's bank accounts. $18 million. Gone. Moved to untraceable wallets. Finally, the Dutch-Moroccan gang, the ones who bought the stolen cocaine. Rrapo give them a choice. Return the product within 14 days, or face the Ndrangheta, his Italian partners. The gang knew what that meant. They returned the cocaine, all 7 tons, within 12 days. And Arian, still in prison, serving 20 years in Amsterdam, disowned by the family, broke, and still alive, because in Albanian culture, killing family violates Besa, the code of honor. Even traitors deserve life, just not freedom, just not forgiveness. COVID-19 hits. Borders close. Airports shut down. Drug routes collapse overnight. Cocaine shipments stuck in South America. European demand at an all-time high. Prices skyrocket. And Rrapo adapts. He shifts his network from cocaine to synthetic drugs. MDMA, methamphetamine, fentanyl, produced in clandestine labs in rural Albania. No need for South American cartels. No need for ocean shipping. Just chemistry and distribution through legal courier services. DHL, FedEx, UPS, small packages, vacuum sealed, mixed with legitimate goods. By 2022, European law enforcement estimates Rrapo's network controls 40% of the synthetic drug market in Western Europe. The business is worth an estimated $2 billion annually. His cut? 5%, $100 million. And he's never set foot in a lab, never touched a package, never made a direct sale. Dutch police achieve a breakthrough. They crack his encrypted phone system, the same EncroChat-style platform he'd used for 15 years. Suddenly, 6 countries have evidence. Thousands of messages, transaction records, names, locations, routes, Europol coordinates. Planned simultaneous raids across 10 countries from March 2024. 150 targets. The largest operation against Albanian organized crime in history. If successful, it would dismantle his entire network. And finally bring down the calculator. February 2024. 2 weeks before the scheduled raids, someone tips off Rrapo. Nobody knows who. A corrupt official. A hack system. An insider. But Rrapo gets word. He has a choice. Run to Dubai, where there's no extradition, or stay, face trial, and use his intelligence connections to negotiate immunity. He chooses neither. He disappears. The Swiss villa? Emptied overnight. Furniture gone. No forwarding address. Bank accounts? Drained days earlier. Associates? Suddenly silent. It's like he evaporated. March 2024. The raids go forward. 10 countries. 127 arrests. Over 5 million euros seized. For tons of cocaine. Encrypted phones. Ledgers. But Rrapo? Gone. Europol's theory? 3 possibilities. 1. He's in Albania, protected by corrupt government officials and clan loyalty. 2. He's in Dubai, living under a false identity. 3. He's in Ecuador or Colombia, running operations remotely from South America. Some investigators believe a 4th option, that he's dead, eliminated by rivals who saw the raids coming and blamed him for the exposure. One wiretap from April 2024 caught a voice saying, "The calculator is still counting." But voice analysis was inconclusive. It might have been him, might have been a recording, might have been someone using his legend to maintain control. As of now, October 2025, Almir Rrapo's location remains unknown. Interpol's red notice is still active, his face on wanted lists across 40 countries. But there's been no confirmed sighting, no financial activity, no communications. He's either the most disciplined fugitive in modern history, or he's gone for good. What we do know, his network survived. The arrest disrupted operations for 6 months. But by late 2024, cocaine seizures started climbing again. The same routes, the same methods. The decentralized cells adapted, found new leadership, and kept operating. Because Rrapo built something that didn't need him, a system that runs itself. His daughter lives in London, under protection, refuses interviews. His nephew Aryan is serving his sentence in Amsterdam, due for release in 2039. And the calculator? Either counting money from a beach somewhere, or buried in an unmarked grave. Nobody knows. And maybe that's exactly how he wanted it. Because the greatest trick Almir Rrapo ever pulled was making the world question if he was ever really there at all. What's your verdict? Is he hiding in Ecuador or 6 feet under in Albania? Comment below and subscribe, because next week's case is even more twisted. See you then.